find ourselves already at the 33rd Sunday of Ordinary Time, very close to the end. And even if you don't follow the liturgical cycle very closely, if you've been doing this for a while, I think you won't be surprised. You'll remember that as we come to the end of the liturgical year, every year we start to focus on the end times, the kingdom, the second coming. We close out the year with this great solemnity of Christ the King. And then we'll begin the year as we start Advent, awaiting the second coming. So these next few weeks will be very much connected to the end times in which we live. And on the one hand, they're very difficult readings. On the other, I think a useful annual reflection, not about the future, but about the times in which we live. I think you could make a theological case for the fact that we live in the beginnings of the end times. The beginning of the end times. I know it's 2,000 years in, but we haven't made much progress yet. Jesus said that this generation will not pass away until everything has been fulfilled, and I think there's still a lot left to fulfill, right? That our age, and as we look to the generation, to the age, as we look to our daily lives, as we look to our world, I would suggest that so much of living in the kingdom is about awareness. It's about how we live more than what we live. So, and Christianity has struggled with these questions over the centuries. Should we marry or not marry? Right? There might be advantages both ways. Paul goes into a long discourse about it. But at the end, what matters isn't whether or not we're married, it's how we're married or not married. Should I own a business or not own a business? Right? At the end of the day, the question isn't whether or not I own or manage a business. It's about how I own and manage a business. It's not about whether I run for political office or I don't run for political office. It's how I live that office. Not about whether or not I become a priest or I don't become a priest. It's how I live priesthood and leadership and service. And we would recognize in the coming kingdom, in Christ's becoming king, those things which he showed us, right? That it's persecution and suffering, that it's love which gives not a little but everything. It's love that gives to the end. And we find ourselves then approaching the end. And we'll come maybe with a different awareness as we await that end. Looking forward to, longing for the coming of the kingdom as we start Advent. Now as we finish the liturgical year, it's almost an examination of conscience. How closely did I live the kingdom this last year? As I look to the signs, to the fig tree that's sprouting leaves, if I look to my life, mixed in with secular society, but am I mixed in, or have I lived in the kingdom? Has the kingdom come because of me this year? Have my interactions with the world brought about any of this transformation of which Jesus speaks? We come to the end, we come to Christ the King, and we ask ourselves, have I allowed Christ to be the king of my life? Not the king of my monastery, the king of my life. the King of my relationship with my parents and my children, the King of my marriage, the King of my work, the King of my driving, the King of my banking relationships, the King of my life. And in that transformation of the age, of the secular world, we can await with more confidence in Advent the coming of our King, and we can await with more joy that time of his coming.